All right. Hello and welcome back. This is Colin Keeley here.
And I'm Brent Sanders.
We are two guys buying and building wonderful internet companies.
Yeah. And this last week or two, we're going back to our first acquisition, which was now just about 2 years old now. So we purchased Blink Sale. That was our first deal we did. It was a great deal in the sense of it was very newbie friendly. It was priced right. It had a nice long seller financing that we were able to pay down monthly. The seller was really experienced and was just very cool to work with. I think it warmed us to this concept and it was a good one to start with. A little bit on Blink Sale. It's an invoicing platform. It's really broad. You can use it for anything. It's the fastest way to get paid, which is, as far as invoicing tools go, it's like you sign up and you're launched into creating your first invoice and customer. And it's not like the product is oriented to getting that first invoice out and then continue to just get those invoices out quickly. So it's old. It was historically used for the designer community and the Web 2.0 era. It was one of the first Web 2.0 apps, and there still is the legacy version, which is, loved by tons of customers. People just don't want to see that change. They don't want to migrate to the new one. So we love supporting it. We're keeping it in healthy states, but we're kind of it feels stagnant. People sign up, they use the new product. We've added features to it. We added a crypto feature when we first bought it. You can accept payments from Coinbase. We added ACH. We had all these things to kind of fix the funnel. The new version was a little weird, but we're kind of left with this. And we were talking about it beginning of the year of what do we do with this thing? I guess we could sell it, but that's not really what we're doing here. We could grow it. And then it kind of opens this question of it's just so broad that what do we want to do with it? So you started thinking off or throwing out a bunch of ideas. I guess walk me through where you're at on it.
Yeah. So, it's been a great, effectively cash cow. It's super stable. The customer support needs are minimal. It's you could run it like that for probably ever and it would just putz along and that's fine. Maybe it grows 5% a year. Maybe it doesn't grow. But if you really want to push it, I think, and especially if we're going this SEO approach, if horizontal invoicing is just super saturated, it's just a really hard space to market in, even if we have high domain authority and everything, which we do because it's very old. And so it made sense to just pick a niche. And I went through probably the top 200 customers and kind of looked for groupings. And then I also tweeted it out and posted to LinkedIn. I've got 50 plus kind of awesome responses because the reality is we don't have we have a bit of a concentration in small agencies and designers, but that wasn't really the space we wanted to focus on. And then we have a lot of these trades. I would call them more blue collar trades. And we have a few of kind of all of them. So pest control, lawn care, plumbers, flooring, lawyers, movers, HVAC. And so I think all those were pretty compelling. I think that could be a startup studio, basically business management for each one of those is a worthwhile company. But we had to pick one. So yeah, I don't know. Do you have any, we already decided, but did you have any initial inclinations in the space?
I did. Yeah. So the most outspoken customer that I've had the most interactions with is a custom masonry company out on the East Coast or in the Massachusetts area. And it's funny. They do, estimates, invoices, and it's nails exactly what we do. Accept the estimate, that approves the work, that works in our workflow. The product is a fit. They were on the old platform, moved to the new one, and they've given us lots of feedback. And so anecdotally or sort of my bias was around trades or at least home related services where there's a custom component, right? Because you got to review the invoice. So, that has that estimate invoice sort of need works well. And so, outdoor furniture, outdoor, pool, custom pools, but that's where the general domain I wanted to kind of land in. Yeah. Of that, then you kind of focus in, okay, well, what's in there? You got lawn care, snow removal. Those are two seasonal things, at least for folks like us in the Midwest. Yeah. What else there? But yeah, I things that I think we're really close and able to do from a product perspective are invoicing and estimation. And then the other thing is how far away are we? The thing I wanted to stay away from it, I don't want to deal with time tracking. That was a common request from the designers and it's go use Harvest. That's a way better product for time tracking. And I don't want to build time tracking. I don't want to shoehorn it in and have it be kind of a second rate time tracking tool. So that was
is designers and web development agencies. Those are exactly the people that have this problem. And why don't I just build this product? So that's a super saturated space. And you don't want to go after it with like a subpar feature set because everyone else with the capability that we have are doing that. So trades is interesting because those people don't have, development experience. They're not going to go hire a dev agency to build their perfect solution.
Yeah. Yeah. And so like the domains that I've lived near or sort of worked near, like a lot of the people in my family have been in the home building industry or the real estate industry. And it's like just hearing from them again, anecdotally, like, hey, the trades, my drywall guy, my carpentry guy, like they never invoice me. They come out of the woodwork 6 months later and like, hey, yeah, I never got paid on that job. It's like, you never sent an invoice, and they're really bad at that. So, I guess from, again, putting my product lenses on, the things I'd rather build in time track, scheduling, like a mobile app, like we could, Blinkcell had a mobile app. People have asked for it. We could definitely step on that as we have mobile resources with other products. So, I think we have things that we've learned with like Scout that it already does, that we already have sort of in-house methods of supporting and working that we can kind of borrow, or even, there's this idea that like you have 3 businesses that are separate, but there are some centers to that Venn diagram that you could say, hey, we could actually like, blend these 2 things together, which I don't want to do, right? I don't want to like, make a Frankenstein product, but I'd much rather build those things in time tracking. I'm not really sure why, but I don't think we really need to build anything for Blink. So that's the fun part, is that we already did the work. We'll see if there are gaps. I'm sure there's like nice to haves. Scheduling. One thing that somebody asked us for, who was I feel like they were in the snow removal space, and they had reached out like, hey, can you give me just like an address list? Like you can do it, but it's like it's by customer, and it's like it's like, yeah, we could so easily just give you a view that's like, here's the list by zip code or however you want to filter it. And like, that's an easy win in my mind to verticalize it.
So my initial inclination here was all trades, because we have a few of all of them in like it's kind of a common set of problems that they all deal with. And I'm in Florida right now, as you can see through the window. And it's like, if you walk down the street, the neighborhood, it's all these people in trades, like trying to keep nature at bay. And it's all these trucks, and many of them do like, it's pest control and lawn care. Well, it's not snow removal, but it's like tree trimming. So it's a lot of overlap. But then if you do that, it's not like one ideal customer to market and to build for, which kind of puts you in a similar position again, where you just are churning out SEO articles for like everything under the sun. So I wanted to be the best offering for one thing. And I think where we ended up is landscaping, which is also a bit of a broad umbrella, or like the green industry. So it could range from snow removal to like lawn care, but we already have customers there. So our product as is serves them pretty well. Big fragmented market. And other trades like HVAC are just dominated by ServiceTitan. And so it doesn't have a dominant player like HVAC does. And if you have enough money, you're a big enough company, you should be on ServiceTitan. You shouldn't be on Blinkcell. They have complicated estimates and invoices, so things are custom. So you're always changing. You're doing the approvals like you talked about. And then there's a good chunk of recurring revenue, which if you do payments through us and set up your recurring revenue through us, it makes you just way stickier. You're way less likely to churn. So all those are like kind of appealing aspects to this kind of green industry.
Yeah. I'd say like some of the parts that, again, I keep going back to the product, but looking at sort of the business problem for these folks, it's like just getting paid quickly. Like I think for these smaller customers, it should be an easy place to get started, because like, who does our lawn? And we don't use somebody all the time, but I get paper invoices. They don't have, there still are a lot of people that haven't made that leap yet, that are semi large players. The company we use, they've got at least 40 trucks, right? It's like, it's not a small operation, but they just, they do it old school, and they're not, it's not like a retiree running it. It's a younger guy, kind of our age. But yeah. The other product idea that I've been thinking about across Scout and this, especially as it relates to any service, is like really digging into reviews. Like, we have an opportunity by issuing emails to actually help these people like get your Google business set up, and then help us just drive traffic for reviews. And, if it's, this person's not happy with you, and you're, maybe not going to send them the review request, but maybe on every invoice or a follow-up option, it's just easy. Just get in front of them with a review, because those are gold to service providers, especially in the lawn care space. As somebody who recently moved to a new place, that's how I look for people. And, it was all about the reviews. That's the only way I was able to kind of figure out.
Yeah, so this is interesting. We've looked at a number of startups in this space. They're like, small local businesses. This is the way to get reviews. So like you seek them out and then to manage them. All those businesses seem to be doing great. And there's bootstrap ones, there's venture backed ones. You keep tossing out as a product feature idea that it should be added to like basically most of our local businesses. Should this be a feature or should that be almost a separate company that could get integrated across into like, into Scout, into Blinksail?
Yeah, right. They'll get 2 customers off the bat. Yeah. I mean, that would be an interesting way to do it. I think, from the get-go, like I'm just saying, like we have people that are reaching out to us on Scout that want this feature that are willing to pay someone else more than they pay us for reviews. And they are struggling with like, hey, I just want to be able to like request reviews and I want to make sure I don't send reviews to the wrong people, like request reviews to people that like I know are unhappy with me. And, it ends up like tarnishing my name. As far as tracking them, that's a whole thing. I don't really feel like I want to get into that space as much, but yeah, I mean, I think that will be one of the more popular features requested by our users. I think it'll be welcome by everybody. So yeah, does it make sense to spin it out? Probably, right? Like if we build this on one platform and then we build sort of a different version, it's like, well, that's a waste. Could we port it? Could we build it as a service for both? Yeah, I think that there's probably some good, all right, I'm going to say it. There could be some good synergies.
Back to the startup studio. Keeps dragging us back in. Podium was the one that the Scout customer wanted to integrate, and it starts at $400 a month. I think is the minimum. And they're not paying us $400 a month for Scout. I'm not sure what they were paying us, but it was maybe half that or something.
To be fair, it sounds like they are not going to move forward with it because she's like, I can't afford it. Like, and I think that's all they wanted. They wanted to do a bunch of stuff, but I was on a call with the account rep. These are longtime customers. I always try to get on these calls. Just seems like a waste of time, but it's actually some of the best market research, customer and product research is like, wait, I just want to understand, like, what are you using? And so the rep was like, oh, you can do this, this, and this. She's like, I don't care. I just want to be able to send for reviews. And I'm like, okay. And what ended up happening is she needed someone to integrate it. And I'm like, okay, well, we'd be happy to help you. And she's like, it's just, this is all too much. It's all too expensive. Yeah. And so it's like great opportunity for us we wouldn't charge, maybe we should charge that much, but like, I feel like we would have an add-on for an extra $20 a month or something. And we already own the emails, right? So like we already have that territory where, you're getting the post walk email from Scout. It's like, it's a great opportunity to be like, hey, give us a review.
Yeah. So Podium's the most expensive version. Like all the other versions are more like, start at $19 a month or something like that. If you're just a little small business, and then it scales basically with usage to $400 or whatever a month.
To be fair, Podium had a bunch of cool messaging features. But again, this customer was not really like wanting to go down that path just yet, but it had a bunch of like automatic SMS and, cool things that, we are also getting into. So I think once we step our game up, and on that note, you want to talk about some product updates?
I guess let's finish Blinksail. So I guess just next steps here. So update the Webflow marketing site. You'll work closely with kind of existing customers or potential customers that are friendly to us. Like there's some folks that are rolling up landscaping businesses on Twitter that I was meaning to reach out to and just like, hey, we'll be like your software arm. We'll just build what works best for you guys. So, and then cold outbound, like landscaping companies, we'll see, I guess, if they answer emails. Otherwise, maybe it's a cold call situation because they're, ancient.
Mailers. Get some mailers.
Yeah, mailers. And then, pump out more articles, pivot to this spot. So that's what I've been telling our writers is like, this is our focus going forward.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, that's our plan. Riches in the niches.
Yeah, I love it.
But yeah, you want to talk about other product updates?
Yeah. So Scout, we got a bunch of things finally happening. It feels like, so we are just past the 90-day point on that business. So we're getting to the point where we have some initial releases that we did, but I've been pretty excited. We're finally migrating everything to Stripe. It's been a total bear trying to figure out how we're going to get all of our customers. I don't know. Did we talk about this previously? How bad Braintree's support and everything has been? Like, we can't even get new customers that sign up that want to use Braintree because of the hoops they jump into. But what we were informed finally, they said it was going to take them to the end of the calendar year, which it is February 10th today. So it's going to take 10 months to migrate all of our customers' customer cards. So he just said, forget it. Give us our customer, like, so our direct customers, we've now migrated. And man, it just feels good to have people in Stripe. I don't know. People hate on Stripe because they're starting to raise their prices a little bit, but like, it's just such an unbelievable difference between like the next nearest competitor as far as, go back to authorize.net or even Braintree. It's like, I'm working with their API. It's just
NCR we have some of Blinksail on NCR. You just can't get reports out of them. So yeah, Stripe is expensive, maybe more expensive for sure, but it's so worth it. Like if any one more customer converts, it's worth paying that extra fraction of a percent or something to them.
Yeah. And so like we're making this product decision across all of our businesses that like I'm not building more like payment portals or invoice platforms or like I'm cutting all that stuff out of our products and moving it. And when I say invoicing, I mean like our product generates an invoice every month for your subscription and we got to email to us, got to have your VAT number and we got to have tax. And it's like everybody does it differently. And it's like they have a Stripe customer portal and it's like just let them own it. And like one of the biggest issues we had when the first day we took over Scout was like, oh, my card expired. And it's like, wait, and there are certain situations where you had to like call us and give us your card number. It was like insane. So just cutting that part of the product out, putting it on Stripe, and then having a really clear and transparent pricing. And it's funny, it's like, it's forced us to change. We're going to be changing House of Scouts. So they had this flexible seats system where at the end of the month, it would check and see who on your staff, is active versus not, and bill you only for who's used it. And it's like, that's not really a standard practice. That's kind of a very nice thing, but what it creates is some weird, like you're going to have multiple subscriptions and it's really hard to do the math and figure out like, okay, what do I owe each month? And so it's a good litmus test for like, hey, your subscriptions are weird. And if they don't work easily in Stripe, it means something's weird and you should probably simplify. And I'm optimistic that we're going to see just a lot more like conversion, definitely new customers signing up and using Connect. There's just a whole lot of good stuff coming out there. And then we also have a new member who's joined our team. We've got an intern or an apprentice, local guy named Dominic, who is about 2 weeks in. And he's a high school grad. It's funny. We should have him on the pod at some point, but I wanted to kind of talk about Dominic briefly. So Dominic is a reference from a friend of ours from prior business in the automation space. And he and I kept talking. He's like, my nephew is, he's a high school grad. And he doesn't want to go to college. And I kind of think he's right. Like he wants to be a software engineer. He went to some community college and he just didn't like it. And he loves to code. He's working on a product of his own. And like, okay, yeah, send him over. And so first week, like I saw like, and I've hired a lot of CS grads with master's degrees. And it's just funny. It's like, and by the way, I'm self-taught. So this comes with a lens of like, I went to music school, so I don't have a CS degree, but you can tell when someone's passionate about something and someone like has put in the hours to just like hack on their computer, they know their way around. Like we spent a day or two just dealing with like problems. Like couldn't get his build set up or something wasn't working, but just seeing on screen shares, like how he worked through the problems. I was like, oh, you're in a really good spot. I mean, I think you're making the right decision where spending 4 years and the money to go to college, like you'd just be deferring. You'd come back 4 years later and be working with somebody like myself and starting this process. Not to say college is useless, but he's been taking the lead on some of our Scout mobile development and crushing it. Like we've had several other folks try to get involved in this space and kind of, struggle and move a lot slower. And it's like this 18-year-old kid who works at Whole Foods is, obviously now going to come work with us, absolutely crushing some of the expectations that I had. So I'm super excited about the help.
It's super cool. I mean, it's a cool job for anyone. It's a cool job if you went to you got a Harvard MBA, but what an awesome job for an 18-year-old kid that didn't go to college. You are good at bringing on these mentees is the way of putting it. Like you seem to always have a few kind of circling around you that want to get into development and you take them under your wing and kind of train them up.
Yeah. When I had an agency, we had a high school grad and he went to school. This is when we were in Chicago and he went to school at Paul and he would work with us every summer. And then we ended up working later in our career. It's such a great thing because even if they kind of go out of your orbit and come back, they know your style of work. Like you've trained them on like, hey, you create pull requests and you do this. And it's like, and we just spent like the first hour together talking about values and like how to work and like what expectations are like. And, it's just an awesome foundation to to serve for somebody. And it's weird. These things come back. So yeah, try to give him at least a couple hours a week of pairing time and just, brainstorming ideas together. And I'm super pumped on it. And so, yeah, this is by the way, this is like part of the plan is like, I'm in Ohio, I'm in Cleveland. Like there's not a lot of technology here. There's a lot of manufacturing and banking and lawyers. And it's like, I'm trying to increase that and figure out ways to build up the community here. Cause I think there's a lot of talent. It's just like, yeah, you can go work at Progressive or some corporate. And by the way, he wouldn't have made the filter because he doesn't have a college degree. So it's like, I just think that there's so many interesting alternatives. So there's a whole bunch of cool stuff I'm excited about there and seeing him grow. But yeah, so on the Scout front, like we now have a mobile developer that's just fixing up all the missing pieces we've been waiting to do and kind of, have that resource around.
So are you like becoming the tech king of Cleveland then? So you've been on the news, you've been on Cranes.
I'm just gonna I've been on the news twice. That is funny. I don't know how that first one happened, but yeah, I remember that was like the first month or two I moved here. It was like somehow got connected. But you know what? I think the reality is it's a slow news city. People shit on Cleveland pretty hard. And when there's good news, people want to, I think I've said this before, but the mayor even mentioned, I went to a talk, the mayor was there and he's like, you know what? Just don't rag on Cleveland. That's the only thing I can ask you to do. If somebody had asked like, what's one thing you can do to help Cleveland. So yeah, that's about the most important thing that I'm trying to do right now. But yeah, I would love to build a community here. I'd love to improve it. I don't know what it looks like because I'm not a networker. Like I'm maybe a Slack community is the way to go, but
well, that's what this podcast is. It scales conversations, right? So
yeah,
people reach out to you all the time. People reach out to me all the time. And all we're doing is talking on a little Zoom call basically here.
Yeah.
And they, relevant people.
Yeah, I would say over the last week, I've had 3 or 4 people reach out and I would encourage more people to do that. I appreciate it, but especially if you're a developer and you're working on something or you want to do this kind of work, like reach out. I would encourage it. It's kind of again, I'm not a big network. I'm not super outspoken. I'm usually heads down trying to finish things and do my work or whatever. But my favorite part of doing this podcast has been the wonderful conversations with Colin, but also the outreach from like-minded people that are trying to do this, that are trying to get involved with this. Cause like I was complaining about before, it's like, we do need help. Like we do need resources and we're growing. So, if you're into this space, definitely, and you're thinking of reaching out, shoot me an email, like shoot me a tweet, whatever.
Yeah. I think that, people ask me all the time about like the content I produce or we produce. And I think the vision is kind of coming in to be more clear going forward. Like ideally, as things scale up, we're just like matchmaker. We're a matchmaker between these companies that are selling, capital and then like operators. So you pair a really good sales guy with a really good full stack developer that's pretty senior. And it's like, hey, congrats, here's your new company. It's capitalized properly. It's got a lot of, potential. Go run with it. And you get a bunch of equity and, we're happy to support you however we can.
Agreed. I mean, that's sort of the long-term vision, but I guess, in the short term, going back to BlinkSale, it's like, we got to figure out how to grow these companies and, make sure we know the best practices. I think it'll be nice. I'm enjoying the sort of fight part of this of like, hey, we've got ground to cover and I'm looking forward to kind of proving ourselves to that extent, whether that's done through leverage, whether that's done through ourselves doing the work, however you make it happen doesn't really make a difference, but I'm excited to you see a lot of people, and I think there's been a lot of tweets recently of people showing, their Stripe, it's always going up and to the right. It's like, the reality is it's a kick in the pants every day because it's like, there's stuff happening. Like there's people probing our servers constantly. There's, customers that you think might churn out that are big, it's always scary stuff. And let's like be real. It's like, it's day to day. And so, I'm excited to get it to a spot where, we can get that track record and kind of show the things that we've learned over the years and apply those, whether that's from a go-to-market perspective or a software development perspective or just customer service. I don't know. It's bringing a lot of different disciplines together.
Yeah. You just got to keep putting, I guess, numbers on the board, right? You got to build a track record. Like this week, I talked to a top 5 sovereign wealth fund in the world. And it's like, yeah, you just got to keep stepping up and then you do bigger and bigger deals and you can get to that point. But you talk to some people that are family offices and their minimum check size is like 50 to 75 million. And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
there are a lot of different levels to this game.
Yeah.
You sound like, level one over here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's okay. I mean, honestly, I kind of am nervous and not nervous. I mean, this is like a good problem to have, but it's like, this is always the most fun phase when you're still learning, growing, and like working from like, maybe this won't work to, okay, this is working. And I think that's like the fun part to be when it's like, you're still getting your hands dirty. I mean, I don't want to, be running 3 software companies, like the tech side of them, or 4 or 5. I'd like to have more leverage. And I think we're, on the path to doing that, but it's definitely the most fun I've had in any job. So I can't complain.
Well, on that note, anything else you want to cover? Otherwise, I think that's a good end.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good place to pause. Keep listening, reach out if you're looking for a software internship or mentorship. And yeah, just to keep listening, keep trucking ahead.
Awesome. Take care, everyone.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.